All right, in this video, we're going to answer the question on how we modify existing lighting channels. And this is a super simple example where we want to modify multiple channels of dimmers across multiple cues. Right now, we've got this super simple show here. We've got 10 cues. There's several lighting changes within it. And right now, this is the PSD. When I go to tab 1, which is our live display, we're going to concern ourselves for this example in cues 1 through 5. And those just contain conventional dimmers. I'm going to hit F2, which will bring us into blind mode. And this is the blind summary. And then what we want to do here is hit the format button here, which is F4 if you're on Nomad, or press that. Or if you're on physical hardware, you can hit that console or the button on the main face panel. And I'll just hit F1 and it cycles through different layouts. And what I'm going to land on here is the one that's called blind spreadsheet, which is this one. And this will show you channels over cues, so kind of channels over time. And so when we're in this view here, so we are in blind, we can press a cue and we can enter any number of cues. So I'm going to go cue 3 through 6, enter, and it will select all of those cues. And just a reminder, since this is introductory, right? Blue means the values are increasing from a state, so 0 to 10 is blue. Purple means they're remaining or tracking those values forward, and green means that we're going to decrease the value. And if I go, as you see on the command line, cue 3 through 6, enter, that has selected those cues, and now I can select the channels I want to affect. So here I'm going to say channels 1 through 5 and if I hit enter, what it's going to do is it's going to turn these all back into tracking. So what you'll expect to see here is now 40 will track all the way through to 0. In this case, 30 will track all the way to 0. And since these other 3 cues are tracking, there's no change happening on them. They should remain the same. So let's press enter. And you see that's exactly what happens here. Important to know that it's not going to set these to 0 because we're tracking and we're starting at 3. It's still going to pull from the cue above it. Now, if we were to hit undo on here, and I'll do that here just through this face panel here, and we go to undo, and I undo that last change, we can see here we're back to the original state. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to go to Q5, and we're going to set a block in there. And so you see by putting in the block here, it puts in what are called these auto blocks here, which are just those values to track through while still staying static. And we'll redo that prior command. So I'm going to go Q3 through 6, enter. And then I'll do channels 1 through 5, at and enter. And then what you see here is that just like before, those tracked values remain static, but our auto block also sits there and manually sets that cue. And the impact that has is now if I go into Q4, enter, and I do channels 1 through 5 at 0, for example, it will set those values to 0, but because we have a block in 5, it will remain those values that we want there. Okay, now to show you how and then if I was to go into Q5, for example, and I'm going to set channels 1 through 5, all of them at 40%, you can see how we've modified those as well. Now let's show you how this works when we've got blocks, and now we go through and select a range again. So I'll do Q3 through 6 again, at enter. And so if you remember here, we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and zeros. And then these are all at 40, and then subtract at 40. So I've selected those cues, and I'm going to go channel 1 through 5 at enter. And you can see that these all reset, and that these are now tracking from above. These are also tracking, so those track forward even though you have a block in place, because what you've said is ignore it, pull back from before, and this is considered expected behavior for these channels. So just so you can see the way that when you go at enter, how that affects across over time. Of course, if I go Q1 through enter, which selects all of them, then I channels 1 through 5 at enter, and press enter. Because it's pulling up from the out cue, it actually removes all the values from that cue. So that's how we do blind manipulation of multiple channels over multiple cues. We also threw in there as a bonus how auto block impacts that.